Hi everybody, it is Fay here from the Shaman in the Garden. Welcome. I am actually sitting in a very beautiful, quiet, secluded garden space with a new friend of mine, Jackie Queally, and I'm going to introduce Jackie to you because she has an amazing breadth of experience working with earth energies and biofield tuning, connecting with trees. She's the author of numerous books, and actually two of which will be very, very of interest to those of you who I know have got Rosslyn Chapel on their list of places to visit, because Jackie is an esoteric guide to the symbology really and the spiritual meanings of the carvings on Rosslyn Chapel. So she is your go-to not only for a guided tour but also for the couple of books that she has which are for sale there. But she has many books out. So I'll put the links to those below. And she's also a specialist in biofield tuning, which we're going to chat to her about so that we can understand a little bit more about how that's going to help us connect to the natural realm. And particularly, I really want to talk to Jackie today about trees, because one of her books, Reconnecting to Celtic Trees, is really a beautiful way of helping us connect to the mystical aspect of the tree realm. So Jackie, hello, lovely to see you.
Hello Faye, how are you?
Well, I'm really happy to be here with you because actually everyone, Jackie is a new neighbour of mine, so you're going to be hopefully hearing much more from myself and Jackie, and we're actually even going to be working together on a workshop on June the 1st, and if you are listening to this after June the 1st, then don't worry, I'm sure we'll be working on several more workshops together. Because we're both really interested. We have a shared mission of helping people connect to nature. And Jackie does this through dowsing, she does it through connecting with the earth energies, and she also does it through biofield tuning. So I really want to pass it over to Jackie now to talk about biofield tuning, how that helps us, and then also how it helps us connect to nature and the trees.
Thank you, Faye. Thanks for inviting me to be interviewed by you, and I hope your readers, or your listeners I should say, enjoy what follows. Interesting that you mentioned Rosslyn Chapel, because one of the primary spiritual purposes of the chapel is to unify the human realm with the Davic realms, and the glen that runs below it has the alternative name. It's normally known as Rosslyn Glen, but it's also known as Hawthorn Den Glen, after the numerous hawthorn trees that grow around the castle and the chapel. And in the olden days, the gypsies, who were very connected to nature compared to the normal people that were working the land, that were working so hard just to survive, the peasant economy that was there in the Middle Ages. But the gypsies were freer of these shackles and would move around and knew all the herbal cures and everything. So they loved Rosslyn Chapel and Rosslyn Castle. It was actually, I'll say the castle. There was a tower for the chiefs of the gypsies to stay in. One was called Robin Hood Tower, and the other was Little John Tower. And they would teach the family, the Sinclairs, all about the herbology, the symbology of flowers, etc. So in the chapel, you see a lot of nature carvings, and this is partly because they would have passed this down orally, and the flowers have a deep meaning. Then, of course, the trees have tune. The hawthorn tree is the tree that is associated with the kind of May, June time. And we are doing, as Faye said, a workshop on the 1st of June. So it's in that hawthorn time. And she mentioned that I was working with trees. Well, I spent a month in Nova Scotia, and part of it was doing workshops on trees, and then there were other historical talks about ley lines, etc. So ironically, I discovered that Faye used to live in Nova Scotia, where she ran a flower farm. Is that right? Yes.
Yeah, I know, it's lovely synchronicity, isn't it?
And I was also visiting and staying with lots of people in the Annapolis Valley. I think that's where you were, maybe.
No, we were further north. Actually,
further north, right? Yeah. So beautiful, fertile valley. And I remember in particular visiting a university in that peninsula, going where the Bay of Fundy is, and down this peninsula where the French landed as well.
Yeah, in Acadia, isn't it?
Yes,
what
around there. And there was a university there, really going south. And we spent a beautiful day walking around the estate of the university, visiting trees. Now, in the past, I've worked with a man from Slovenia by name of Marko Pogacnik, and he's someone who communicates very strongly with the earth kingdoms, with all the spiritual beings that inhabit the earth kingdom or the David kingdom. He dreams constantly, communicates with them, and so I've done some work with him in various countries, and he's got the UNESCO Artist for Peace as his role. That's what he is. So I introduced some of his earlier exercises that help humans connect with the living plants, and the exercises are very simple. So my workshop would consist in some breathing, some gestures from his what he calls Gaia touch exercises, and then also toning. I have done sound healing in the past, and I used to use voice and drum and gong. I have to think there, and I sometimes incorporate that into my present practice as a biofield tuner. But when we go around a tree, we can actually dowse with a pendulum or feel with our hands how strong the energy field is around the tree. And then if we want to amplify the energy field, we would make a circle around the tree, and then we would start toning in unison. And we'd fall into the right note for the tree often, although in the past I've taken tuning forks to the trees where I lived then in the west of Ireland, in a beautiful international geopark known as the Burren, Burren. And I would take the tuning forks to the tree, and I had a whole range from a man called Fabien Mamon of the Tarmadoe Institute, and these forks are usually used for a kind of sonic acupuncture that he invented, but what I would be using them is on the trees, and by striking them on the trunk and then listening to the sound, whether it was dissonant or harmonious, I would actually be able to select the notes for each tree, and then I would play them together because it's what it's matching the tree's resonance, the forks.
Right, I'm going to pause you there. So let's cycle back just to kind of make sure everyone's keeping up because you're on such a roll. So you talked about sort of finding the right note for the tree.
Yes.
So do you do that? And I know, for example, a Reiki healer might do that by kind of feeling with their hands. So are you saying how do you know that you've sort of how do you find that right note?
Well,
so how kind of
the vibration of the fork will sound clearer, more vibrant. So that's the note that it's happy with. That's the note that it resonates with. That the etheric energy around the tree will respond to the vibration of the fork, and this is the same principle as in biofield tuning. When you're when you match it, it's healthy. Now there are some notes within this big range of forks I had from the Tarmadoe where it felt dull or whatever. So, but it doesn't want more of that stuff, so we would do the bright stuff with it.
Okay.
But this is something that I didn't do this was more a personal. I didn't do it this way with the groups, for instance, in Nova Scotia, but this is how I came into sensing the vibrations of the trees. I moved away from using what's called a chromatic scale of forks, such as Fabien. He had all the sharps, the flats like a piano, and then I moved away from that. And what I found was that it was the human voice is really powerful. And when people tone ensemble, they will all, in the end, fall into the same note. It's incredible how that happens. And then you would sing that note because you engage with the heart. And it's with the heart, you know, the right note. You just know. And it's an intuitive thing, really. But to do it as a group is great fun. And then because I'm very keen on dowsing, you know, using a pendulum, there were some other participants, any workshop I did, who also were dowsers. So we'd double check, we'd check with each other and agree. We would find that you would find an edge, say the first edge of the energy field beyond the tree.
And these are usually quite far out, aren't they?
No, I'll talk about that later.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then you would douse it. And after we toned, or sometimes I would select the note, like I described earlier, and we'd tone that note. We'd do it either way. But after we all toned, it would spring out. The aura of the tree, the energy field would spring out. So we knew it was responding. Yeah. Now, we also then, I discovered that I use the triple ring around a tree. There's the innermost ring, which is quite close to the tree often. Then the next, but it depends on how wide the tree trunk is and how watery it is and lots of factors. Then it would spring out to further away, and then it would spring out to further away again. So it's called that the triple ring. And I remember taking a guest I do some sacred tours as well. I took him last year to a tree at Burnham Beeches. Yeah. Now there's the oak, which Macbeth is supposed to have visited or something, King Macbeth. But there's another tree beside it. I think it's a large sycamore. It's either a sycamore or a beech. I can't remember now. But we practiced this toning and the dowsing, and it was amazing how the client was so surprised to see how he could palpably sense the anyone can do it. It's not that difficult. It's just finding the methods to help people to connect to the trees. So he was really amazed at how far out these energy fields sprung when they were when we use sound, vibration to communicate with them. Whereas when you use a mental process, like I want to connect with you and talk to each other, I don't think it's as effective as going to the non-verbal ways of communicating.
Well, yeah, because I mean, I agree with you actually, because I always talk about, one of my teachings has always been let your heart lead you. Don't think your way through it. Don't think, I feel like I need some strength today, I'm going to go and find an oak tree. Allow yourself. Yes. And I think that's what's so beautiful about you talking about toning is because we have to get past that. Firstly, we have to get past the mental block of, oh no, I can't sing. I don't want to share my voice.
That's right.
But once we get past that, I agree with you how it's a very embodied process, so that the thinking mind, it can't get involved. It's actually, and like you said, it comes from the heart. And I think, and obviously for me, and sounds like you as well, the heart is the gateway. It's the portal for that deep connection with kind of the web of life. And it sounds, what I'm feeling is, it sounds like that's how you're able to, we're connecting through the biofield and through this amazing
there's another
sound.
thing to add there. We have an elemental body as well as a physical body. And again, through the work of Michael Pokachnik, who I admire, he discovered points in very obscure places, like maybe parts of the palm of the hand or the knee or the collarbone, different areas, which he said were entries into our elemental body. Actually, he says we have an elemental being that stays with us during our whole life. Well, anyway, one of his exercises, and it's worked for me very well with people, is to turn around from the tree, face the back of the tree, and you connect from the back of your heart.
Yes.
Because it's the back of you that's more connected to the elemental realms. We have the logical at the front, if you like, and then the subconscious is more held at the back. And it's really something else I sort of realised, that the fairies, the elementals, they attach themselves, or they pick up the vibes in our subconscious. That's why when you communicate with plants, for instance, you don't want to be in, maybe you won't agree, but I'd imagine you don't want to be in a super awake mode. You want to be in a kind of dreamy mode.
Yeah.
Isn't that correct? And so that's where you're drawing on those forces, and that's where they cooperate. So they then are much more accessible when you're in that state of mind, or maybe I should say state of heart. It's a heart-mind, really.
Yeah.
So, so there's more things to the trees, but
what was it about the trees, though? What got you started on trees specifically?
Okay, well, that's because I stumbled across an ancient manuscript.
Oh gosh, she's full of it, isn't she? Everybody, isn't it so exciting? It's like we've opened a box of treasures by speaking to Jackie.
Yeah. So I was renting a big rambling gardener's cottage in the Pentland Hills south of Edinburgh, and there were the last inhabitant was maybe a couple of years before that. He'd left boxes of files and things, and I was told that I could chuck them out by the landlord, and I was going through it, and there was this manuscript wrapped up in ribbon.
You can't make this stuff up, can you, everybody?
So I unscrolled it, and it was the translation of a Welsh epic poem, the Mabinogion, and within that there's a poem called The Battle of the Trees. So it was all typed out. It was obviously a draft. He didn't need it for his PhD, I think it was at Strathclyde University. You never know, someone might be listening to that and say, that's mine, or I know who did this. It was a very good thesis on the Battle of the Trees.
Wow.
So I'd been reading, what was his name? Something King. Anyway, I might have just skipped that. There was some philosopher from America, and I cannot remember the name of him now.
Senior moment, everyone.
Who wrote The Golden Bough? Fraser, wasn't it? Fraser, I think. That's the surname. Anyway, someone did a treatise using... Anyway, and he mentioned him in the book, and I saw a American man had done a sort of update on aspects of that book, and I discovered... It was kind of helped me using a bit of mental knowledge and my happy coincidence and my intuition. A door opened in my mind, and I saw that all these lunar trees in the Celtic lunar calendar were actually a model for evolution for the soul. So I went,
that's really another level, isn't it?
Yeah, because I was at the time going a lot to places like Iona and having quite a lot of experiences spiritually, so I was probably in that mode, but anyway, that's when I wrote a simple book. I've got some copies left, called Tree Murmurs, and when I wrote the next book, I reconnected with Celtic trees. That was that led to a job with the UN. It was incredible. So that book is very deep, apparently. That's what reconnecting
to Celtic trees.
With Celtic trees, exactly.
Okay.
So I wanted to go back to telling you a little story about trees in Regent's Park in London.
Okay.
I was doing a workshop at Rudolf Steiner House in London.
Oh, that's such a beautiful building,
yes,
isn't it?
Yes, it is.
It's lovely.
Yeah. And I went into the Regent's Park over to do the practice after introducing them to the notion of communicating with trees. There's beautiful trees in Regent's Park.
Yeah.
So we were gathering around it and doing some of the exercises and others that I've been describing just now to you, like standing with our back to the tree, humming as well, and toning. And as we stood there, I'll always remember this because there was a ballet dancer with one of the London contemporary ballets was there in our group. She saw it first, and then I saw it. A beautiful energy ball of golden energy. Wow. But it wasn't an insect. There was no sound. It was moving around a bit, and it stayed all around the tree while we were doing the toning. And when we finished, it sort of fizzled out. It just disappeared before our eyes. It was magical.
That feels magic. So what do you think that was, or what do you feel that was?
It was elemental energy of the very high degree, though. Golden is a very, it's the highest colour available to humans, And I've often had experiences like that in Roslyn Glen too. I mean, I'm writing another book, and those experiences will be in it, about all these experiences with other dimensions. Yeah. But they only happen, I feel, always through an act of grace. You can't force them to happen, in my view.
Absolutely. I agree with you.
Yes.
But you had an experience like this in my garden the other day.
Oh, yes, you tell people. Tell people that, yes.
This is very, this is just this, I suppose... I totally agree with what Jackie's saying. You can't force these things. They sort of happen upon you rather than you thinking, right, today I'm going to have this really deep connection. And, and I think it really happens where we're in that relaxed state, we're in that heart state, we're in a state of appreciation. And this was just the other week, Jackie had come over for a cup of tea. We were talking about the upcoming workshop, and I put my hand down to Deadhead Daffodil, actually, as that's what I was doing. And literally, Jackie in that very moment went, oh, but what's that? What are you doing? Where have you put? And I said, and I just said, oh, I've just that's just a daffodil. And Jackie's response was, no, it's not. I've just seen some, what did you see? Some gold, it was a golden energy, wasn't it?
Silver, I think.
Silver. Oh, it was silver. Okay. So it's very interesting how these experiences.
A cloud of silver energy.
Oh, it sounds beautiful,
Yes.
doesn't it?
I don't know if Fay was quite miffed because she didn't
I'm like,
see
huh?
it.
I didn't see that. That caught me unawares. Yeah, but I think,
yeah.
well, I think we have to be open to these things, though, don't we?
Yes. The more, once you've experienced it once, you might be hankering after seeing it again, and that will hinder you too. It's usually when you're just relaxed, actually. I mean, she's deadheading daffodils, so I had nothing to do. I was just standing there in her beautiful walled garden, and then it happened. I mean, I couldn't have wished for it. It's just beautiful. Yeah, lovely moment. And so I want to just quickly go back to the forks, if I may.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because why use tuning forks? Because now, for about 7-8 years, I've done Biofield Tuning, which can be done on your own energy field to help with many health or psychological blockages or issues, but also it can be done with animals, it can be done with nature, it can be done, for instance, to heal trees. So a woman rang me from America maybe 4 years ago and said, my husband cut down all the trees in our yard without my permission, and I love this cherry tree, and he says, what can I do? It's still got a trunk and a few branches, but it looks horrible. It lopped off the crowns of all of them. And she'd bought a fork, and she wanted me to guide her to how to use that fork.
Right.
So I explained to her that your intention is paramount.
Definitely.
So intend that imagine the tree better. Just know that it will get better. Just hold the fork, strike it, and dream, if you like. Dream, this tree is looking better. This tree is feeling better. This tree is starting to regrow. So I said, do it for 2 weeks, every morning, maybe every night too. She did. She actually rang me back, she emailed me 2 weeks later from the deep south, and she said, amazing. It started to bud, but all the other trees haven't.
Yeah.
I said, well, why don't you try all the trees now then? You can do them collectively. You don't have to go around each one.
Yeah.
Because, she said it worked. So I find that the Biofield Tuning is very powerful because you use your intent. You want to clear a chakra, for instance, or you ask for it to guide you to help someone. And if you just use your hands in your tent, fine, it will work as well. But it's an adjunct, to have the fork, to feel the vibration, and often to hear it too. Not always if they're weighted forks. This is it's good as a barometer. It's good as an analyzer, detecting where the blockages are.
Yeah.
But it's also because most people, I feel more comfortable when they see you with a tool in your hand. As I've had over the decades, as she said, I'm going to semi-retired now. I've had people doing this hand stuff to me, and I have felt nothing and no different. But somehow, going with the vibration of the fork amplifies it a lot. And so you can get through the shit very quickly, basically. It cuts corners. But I like to work where I empower people, where I mentioned, for instance, on their timeline that we work with, when the trauma happened. Now, so I'm very interested in how it works with plants. So I'm not talking about tuning the plant so much for its history, like you would a human, but tuning people so that they are open to the plant energy, that they are able to communicate more easily with the plant. That's the intent. So somewhere in our body, and it could be not our own chakras, it could be a female chakra, as I talked about, and you then tune. You clear that with the forks and see what happens. So that workshop's very much a sharing experience, an experimental. The best way to approach using the forks is to be curious. It's not to have a plan in mind ever.
Yeah.
And so you use your intuition a lot too.
Yeah.
And the more relaxed you are, the more you'll be able to do that. And this walled garden that you've got is such a nice relaxing space that it should facilitate a very deep experience. That's my hope.
So just to clarify that with everyone listening, Jackie's sort of gone into talking about the workshop that we're doing together, and the piece. She's brought it round to that, which is lovely. So yeah, this is why, you know, we're kind of having this wonderful experimental day. We're going to be curious. We're going to play. We're going to be joyful, and what we're going to do is we're going to be combining Jackie's tuning into our energy fields, like she said, to kind of open the energy field so that we're more susceptible, so that we can more connected. And again, we talked about grounding. We've talked about grounding before.
Yes, it's a very good modality for grounding you. It's not like Reiki or bioenergy thing. They've all said that people who practice it, when they come to me, this is far more grounding. Embodying.
And then, as Jackie was saying there, we're going to be there'll be another piece of the puzzle in terms of using the biofield forks to tune into the energies to clear, like if we, you know, the stuff that gets in the way, because I know that everybody listening, anyone who listens to my work or has read any of my books, you know, you're all interested, you're all fascinated, you love plants, you love connecting to nature, you might be a Reiki practitioner, or you drum, you know, we're interested in these different ways of healing and connecting to the earth, and, you know, raising our vibrations, but we all are human, and we've all got that stuff that gets in the way, and this is why it's going to be a lovely experimental time, you know, to work with the forks to kind of clear.
There's 3 stages. There's clearing, reintegrating into the body, and then removing. You know, it's like, it's a different, slightly, it's more methodical in some respects, but what I love about it is it also uses your intuition exactly where to work. I remember doing a very interesting workshop in Ireland, because I used to live in Ireland, with a plant journey medicine lady. I don't know what quite you call these people, but
somebody like me.
Okay, you're an exotic person there, let's say. And then she said, out you go and find, after we're in a beautiful yurt, she goes, out you go and find your plant, communicate with it. Hardly any guidance. Let it happen. Well, maybe she's built that way, but I needed some preparation or guidance that I felt I didn't get. But anyway, I felt like an idiot. I thought, I'll go to that forget-me-not. And I was there for half an hour, staring down at the heart. It just wasn't working for me. And then when that's why I think you really need to be chilled out. It's really a nice atmosphere to start in, you know. You mean having a biofield tuning is going to get you into that state. It opens the flow, and I mean the sharing is really important too in a workshop, but I don't want to go on and on about my experiences. That's why I brought it back to the workshop. I apologise.
Well, no, that's wonderful. But yeah, we're coming up to time now. So have you got anything else? Well, you've given some people listening actually some really great tips in terms of how they might start to kind of connect, and even, and I know a lot of people will be kind of really wanting those same experiences that you've had with the nature beings and the elementals. But is there any final words that you want to say to kind of help people listening?
Okay, no, it's just, I'm a bit logical here. If you feel you say you couldn't go into nature right on the spot, couldn't come to the workshop this time, I can tune your elemental field. That's another method I chose based on Marco's. Tune all the points that he discovered in your body, and that's a very feminine tuning, and that's really
maybe
nice.
You should tune mine, Jackie.
Yes.
Right, here we go. I'm going to get Jackie to tune mine, everyone.
It's a full session, and the ladies, I've only had a few done it because I don't advertise it. It's a really, they said they felt really, connected and not. See, when you do the chakras, it's a masculine tuning.
Okay.
Linear.
Yes.
This one is rounded. I mean, it's the way I talk in a way. I think it's partly my Irish blood, but everything's connected. So
it's like a spiral. Are you spiraling?
My children go mad. What's your point? You've wandered off. But if you listen in Ireland, you get a conversation. It comes back. It's like a piece of music where you go off on different airs and bring them back into the central air. So that's the conversation. Anyway, have you got any questions, Ray? Fay.
Jackie's gone into another world here. I haven't got any questions, but what I'm going to do is, where can people find you? So at the moment, so if you can't make the workshop with me and Jackie, look out, because I'm sure we'll be doing some more. And I'm going to post the links to Jackie's website below so everybody can find her. And as Jackie said, she does Biofield Tuning online sessions, so, and also from her home in Scotland.
I'm just going to give my email because in case I have a new website going up, in case it doesn't work.
Okay.
And the current one you can't often get onto.
Well, I'll post your email below.
Jackie, okay, you do that. Jackie Queally @gmail.com, to my personal one.
Okay.
At the moment, yeah.
Thanks so much, Jackie. It's been
enjoy chatting to the ether. And I'm sure people will pick it up. Thank you.
Yeah, and don't forget, if you are wanting to go to Rosslyn Chapel, then really get in touch with Jackie for that too, because that will be add absolutely another dimension to the visit to the chapel.
The only tours I do are from my books or people picking them up in the chapel. I don't advertise it much.
Yeah,
now,
so it's hush hush, everybody. You're in the know.
Yes, that's right.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Jackie.
Bye now.
Bye.
Take care.